I'm happy to be here today. Thanks to Dujigi for allowing me to participate and present on the wonderful subject of hosting a school walkathon. I'm going to make sure that yep, great. You can see my screen now. All right, we're in business. So thanks again for coming. Hosting a school walkathon can be a lot of fun, but I think that we all know it's also a lot of work. And if you have hosted a school walkathon before, you know all the nitty-gritty details about it. And if you're looking to do one, it's best that you know what's coming up before you get yourself involved. But again, you know, really it is a lot of fun. And the key with any kind of a school event like this that's a fundraiser is you want to make it as fun as possible for everyone, from your participants all the way to your volunteers. And so I'm going to cover today this brief agenda here, really going over all the bases of hosting your school walkathon, from planning the event, really actually from researching and deciding on the details of the event, to planning it online, and then of course evaluating how you've done at the end of the day. So I'm going to go ahead and start delve into the subject here. Have any of you been reading the announcements, the headlines in the news? It's all about public school funding shrinking, and of course private school enrollment being down. It's a really slow economy right now, and the same old fundraising tactics really result in flat or lower donations than we've seen before. And so it's really important that administrators and the parent organizations in these schools find new sources of private donations in order to pick up the slack, because we have to enable critical programs like art and music and technology, and you name whatever your parent organization might be supporting. And it's really tough right now. But online fundraising comes in because it really extends the reach of your fundraising campaign with this walkathon to being able to bring in donors from even around the world, not just in your backyard and in your community and in your neighborhood, but across the country and really globally. It's very important that we look to new sources of fundraising, and this is one great way to get it. Also, parent motivation is really tough right now. They are really busy, and it's too hard to go door to door. And they're really tired of going the extra mile for a fundraiser and really paying in time and also money. I had a parent come to me as a committee member here at our local school for the walkathon. A parent came to me, and I asked if their kid was going to participate, and they said yes, and they said that all they were going to do this year, this was actually last year, was write their own check for their personal donation for their kid's pledge, and they weren't planning on asking for anyone else's pledges. I, of course, asked why. They said they were really successful calling the grandparents and the relatives and getting them to pledge for their kids' participation in the walkathon, but then it came down to it, they forgot to send the checks in, and it was time to turn the checks into school. And rather than go through the embarrassment of calling grandma or grandpa and asking them to send the check for the donation, that parent did it themselves. So they were out about $250, that particular parent, because of all of the pledges that were made but not sent in. So it's really tough for parents to be able to support these from a time and a monetary perspective. What's wonderful about online fundraising is it gives you greater results with less parent and student effort. So they can focus more on reaching more of their friends and family, and they don't have to focus on grabbing all those checks and cash and turning them in. So also, volunteers. Volunteers are tough to get, and they really burn out when they're doing a lot of paperwork and they're entering data into spreadsheets that you've gathered from permission slips and pledge requests and pledge sheets, and really keeping track of registrations of students. It's very easy for them to burn out, and we all know, I believe, that we want to keep as many volunteers happy as we can. So online fundraising really helps you use those volunteer resources better. It frees them up from a lot of the paperwork in order to enjoy planning the event. Maybe it's planning more on the event level, like some of the food and fun and games, or really working on motivating students to get more pledges and be more of a marketeer versus really just being the person to do all the paperwork. Now also, paper fundraising, we all heard about the green initiatives. It's really wasteful. It's expensive. It can cost around 3 cents a sheet to make photocopies, and it's also really environmentally taxing. And so that's something we all have to consider, is the time and effort and the money it takes to make all the photocopies for the registration forms and for the permission slips and for the pledge sheets. That takes a lot of time and money. And so the great news about online fundraising, it's really environmentally responsible. It even saves you time because you don't have to make all those copies anymore. So I thought I'd take a moment and let you take a look at some real life situations where a school has gone ahead and done online fundraising with their walkathon. These are real results and real quotes from Guadalupe Elementary School. We launched it early this year, and we had such a successful walkathon because of the online presence that we had wonderful feedback not only from parents, but from the walkathon chairperson and committee members, and of course the principal. Online fundraising can really lead to greater results, not only in time, but of course in money. That's why probably most of you are here, is to talk about how you can make more money for your event. So I just wanted to take a moment and talk about what online fundraising is. It's a really generic term. I'm going to speak more in terms of the walkathon or any type of a thon that you might do. It's really a one-stop event website. The website is the face of the fundraiser. It's where students, participants get all the event information up to date, from schedule to what they need to wear to instructions on what to do that day, and of course for registrations, for doing active fundraising right there online, and then also for grabbing pledge payments with credit cards, which is really important now for this instant pledge. Also, from another perspective, it gives the people who are participating and the people who are the backbone of the fundraiser real-time updates. So an example of a real-time update that anyone can see by going to a website is you take a look at some of these thermometers that show you how you're doing in terms of your fundraiser, how much further you need to go to get to your goal. Online fundraising enables that to be instant. So if you've got a pledge 5 minutes ago, it reflects right now in the status of your achievement of your goal. And then of course it also enables some class competitions or group competitions as you might set them up. Then from a fundraiser's perspective, from the person planning the event, it allows you real-time reporting so you can see who has signed up, how much money they've got for you in terms of pledges at a given time. And it also allows you to push out communication to your participants to really motivate them and tell them how you're doing as well. So online fundraising is a really great tool to do this. And it's not just for the big nonprofit organizations anymore. These tools like Doojiggies allow local nonprofits like school organizations to do this today with tools that already exist. So you're curious about moving forward probably with an online fundraiser. I suggest we never go into anything without really doing our research. And I, of course, have done it. I did it for my son's school event last year, and now I'm doing it as a business. And what's interesting is to see how much really there is to know about selecting event software, and then I'll also go into detail about selecting payment processors and give you a little bit more on that. First, let's start with selecting event software. It's very important that you look only to a software provider like Doojiggy that has the proper security in place. SSL and PCI compliance are really important. You want to make sure that they are SSL compliant themselves as a web hosting service, but also that they work only with payment processors who are PCI compliant. It's really important when you're getting donations from all across the world that every single person that goes to your website sees a stamp of approval that says that these sites are compliant and that they're safe to use. Also, site design is important. You can see what it looks like. Take a look at the samples that are provided of websites that have been created on these tools. Make sure it's the look and feel that you're going for in your event, because it is the face of your event. Also, you want to make sure that the event software that you're using or the hosting service has all these different features that you'll find handy to be able to make your event great. Anything from personal pages, I'll show you an example of Doojiggies later on in the presentation, to competition, class competition, even if you want to sell logo wear or apparel items, that you can do that on the website. And of course, very importantly, you need to have social network links. You need to be able to broadcast the pledge requests to social networks of your participants or your participants' parents. Also, of course, you want email management and reporting. Reporting is very important, especially as you're approaching the deadline for your event, and then you're going and gathering the remaining pledges that have been made for the event. So those are all very important. And then also, you really have to take a look at, do you have someone on your staff that can work with this software tool? How much experience or skill does it take to not only build the website, but then also as a user or a participant to use it? So very important. And then finally, to think about payment processing options. Are the payment processors integrated into the software tool so they automatically accept credit card donations? Or are they actually separate and you have control over choosing your own payment processor? These are the kinds of things you really need to think about. In Doojigee's case, they've set it up so that you have control over that payment processor. You select that payment processor from a list of qualified payment processors that they provide, and then you can use that payment processor for other events and things that you have going on. In the case of some other software providers, they integrate that payment processor into their tool, and you don't get to choose and you don't have any control over it. And that actually comes to play in terms of cost. Certainly there are costs with working with any kind of a software package. You'll have some upfront costs and potentially monthly or ongoing costs, but also if payment processing is integrated into that software platform, then there's going to be a much higher cost on every transaction. So these are the things to consider.